Hello and welcome to a Time Bum video review. Today I am augmenting my review of the Bronson by Collins watches. You can read the full review, as always, on thetimebum.com. This watch is a new offering from a new company. Collins Watches is known only now for the Collins brand sunglasses, which were designed and produced by Jimmy Collins, who also happens to run a recording studio out in LA. He got the inspiration from that, looking at the knobs and dials, to come up with the Bronson wristwatch. And having spent a week with it, I have to say I like what I see. You got it here on my 6.5-inch wrist on the optional nylon Zulu strap. This is a $25 option. And it looks pretty cool on there, but let's remove it so that you can get a better look at this watch. It is 40 millimeters by 48 millimeters long, which means it has a fairly small footprint and fits pretty neatly between the bones of my wrist. I imagine this will probably fit a great number of people. However, it is also 12 millimeters thick, which is not bad. Those are good proportions for a tool watch. Gives it good wrist presence without being in any way overbearing. Actually, 48 long and 40 wide is about perfect for me. We've got a sapphire crystal, 100 meters water resistance, and old radium superluminova on the black matte dial, which is pretty cool looking. It has a nice vintage feel to it, and that superluminova lights up pretty nicely at night, I must say. Inside, you'll find a Seiko NH35 automatic, good solid workhorse movement, 21.6 K beat rate, 24 joules, a 41-hour power reserve when fully wound. It also hacks and hand winds. Now, you're not going to see it back here because we have on the silver model a solid case back with the old Collins logo on it, but you're not missing very much. The black version of this watch, which is the only other option, does come with a display case back, but the NH35, while it's a perfectly solid movement, isn't really a whole lot to look at. It's well finished, but it is not in any way decorated. So it's a curiosity to have that display, but you're not giving up much by not having it. Dial design is really what drives this watch. As you can see, it's a typical military layout. You could call this a field watch, maybe a pilot's watch. It's got kind of a bit of Flieger type A to it. But you've got some subtle differences here that really set it apart from the pack. Jimmy decided to go with a vintage audio design here, and you can see that most notably in the typeface he used, and that is for the logo, for all the text, and for the numerals, particularly with the slashed zeros, tall, elongated. It reminds me of something you might see on, I don't know, like equipment for a radio station or other professional sound gear. Actually, some of my old home hi-fi tube amp stuff had a very similar vibe to it. And I like that. It stands out, it's unique, but it doesn't slap you in the face. The arrow at the top, again, looks like something that could have come off of old recording equipment, but it takes the place of a navigator's triangle. It melds the two very neatly. Maybe my favorite part of it is the crown. You've got a good knurl on there. You've got the Collins C, but you also have, very subtly, that indicator right there at 2 o'clock because it's emulating a volume knob. I dig that. It's not obvious. You have to look for it, and when you see it, it's going to make you smile. It's a nice touch on there. The one audio design cue that I don't think carried very well into the watch is the second hand. Now the second hand, you really got to squint to see it, and that is the problem. It's coming around that arrow now, and it is very slim. It is all black, and it has just the tiniest loomed spearhead. So even in broad daylight, it kind of gets lost. Now it's supposed to look like the needle on a volume meter, and that makes sense. When you see those old volume unit dials with the needle bouncing back and forth, it looks very much like that. But if I recall correctly, most of those were either backlit or were yellow or white backgrounds, and that skinny little needle made sense. On a black background on a watch, not so much. It didn't really carry. I think if the dial was a different color, it would work perfectly. But that is really a pretty minor quibble. You've got the date window at 3 o'clock, and because of the shape of those numbers, you can have a full-size bracketed window there without encroaching on the 3 at all. And that's one of the things that always bugs me about a date window when it cuts into another element on the dial. This does not have that problem. So it's a nice layout. It looks very familiar, but there's enough different there to stand out and draw you in, or at least it drew me in. Now, while I'm talking about it, I'm going to use my Collins cloth to clean it up, and I'm going to pop on that leather strap. Now, this is the strap that comes standard with it, and as you can see, it's fairly thick, although not in any way out of proportion with the case. And it's an oil tanned leather, so it's going to pick up the marks and dings of regular use. And it is entirely by design. Oil tanned leather is supposed to get that character. It's part of its charm. And on a watch like this, particularly the military style and the old radium loom, it makes perfect sense. You're going to want to have that rugged look. Clean that up a little bit here. And let's put it on my wrist too, so you can get a look at it. Oops. On here. There we go. There. Now again, 6.5-inch wrist, 40 millimeter watch, 48 millimeters long. You can see it's not in any way hurting for wrist presence, but you can slip it under a buttoned cuff without much issue. This is a casual watch. If you wanted to dress it up a little bit more, I think a thinner, more tailored 20 millimeter strap, and you could probably wear this to the office without too much fuss, although I would hardly call it a dress watch. This is a good everyday casual watch, and not a bad bargain. Right now, it is selling for $245 on Kickstarter. That's the lowest level reward available for it, and that is for this silver version. Slightly more for the black PVD, but it's going to go up considerably by June 1st. The watch's price will increase by $170 once the Kickstarter campaign is over. So if you want one, now is the time to pick up the best bargain, although frankly, even at full price, I would say it's very fairly placed in the market. Again, leather strap is standard, and the Zulu, a $25 option, which also gets you the matched hardware, which is nice if you're switching to a Zulu. So all around, I gotta say, I dig the watch. I like its novel take on things. If you can live with the second hand, and personally I can, I wouldn't call that a deal breaker, I would say this is a great alternative to the more common field watch or pilot watch designs. It's a little different, stands out just enough to be interesting, not enough to make a spectacle of itself. You can find this on Kickstarter now. Search Collins Watches. You can also go to the website collinsbrand.com, where if you're in the market, you could also check out Jimmy Collins' line of sunglasses, which are pretty cool in and of themselves. That's all. I hope you've enjoyed the review. Please be sure to check me out on thetimebum.com, and thank you very much.